But I think we are here with Jian Hong. Hello.
You can see me, right? You can see
yeah,
me over there.
Absolutely.
Wow, this one is technical challenges all the way to the end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what I mean? This is what I mean by, this pivoting, or whatever the hell you want to call this, right? Of people, putting stuff online has been a real challenge for everyone, right? I mean, I've done so many seminars, educational, like everything, like from events to whatever. It's been a real challenge figuring out the technical side of things, because everyone literally is learning as they go, right? But I think that's what's beautiful about the community in the theater, is that we're so used to always problem solving, and we're artists at heart, that we're always willing to throw ourselves in there to figure it out. So I think perhaps before we go out,
by right, it's it's 9:00.
Yeah.
So we got to talk for another hour.
Why not?
Okay. Okay. So actually, why don't we start with something first? We actually have a special greeting from somebody. Okay. Maybe we can play the video for that greeting first. Yihui, you have the greeting ready? Yeah. Okay. Why don't we do that first?
这55年来，实践剧场有许多代表性的作品。这些作品具有新加坡多元文化的独特风格。感谢实践剧场举办线上直播，让不同背景和地点的人一起欣赏戏剧。实践剧场和其他艺术团体也利用数码科技，让国人在这期间能继续观看和享受本地艺术创作。最后，祝实践剧场55周年快乐！谢谢。
Wow, thanks. That was was it Edwin Tong? Did I get that right? Yeah.
Yes. The thing is, Patrina was saying just now, right, that you trust the theater people. Well, 有时候我们自己都不 trust 我们自己啊。But it's like this is a time where like today we were talking about how Winston Leong always say, do it wrong, do it strong.
Yes. Wrong and strong.
Yeah. So actually I'm gonna. You think I should do it just Chinese or in English 啊？我跳来跳下来，所以你就随便跟我乱飘语言就好了哈。
好，
因为我们的挣扎很多时候就是大家用什么语言说话 ，right？
是，
对，
永远都是这个啊，
永远都是这个挣扎哦。然后你还有印尼话要加哈，
还有
我们还有讲 Hokkien， 对。所以我其实在想的就是说，这个55个小时其实是非常非常大的考验。OK， 这个精神在今年，尤其是在我们的身上很重要。那么我们在3月底的时候在我们要开演前的一天晚上，就是我们的 final dress rehearsal， 我们收到了消息，就是8点 run 嘛，对不对
？4马路对。
那天有观众啦，那天有观众，然后我们在7点50分的时候收到一个消息。the news gets around, right?
Yeah.
Amongst all of us, and says that, okay, guys, we shut down in 2 days. 然后我当时就很担心 I was worried about the morale. So I walked in, and I walked into the front lobby, and then they just look at me and they say, yeah, we know. Right, then I just said, okay, hold it together. Right, and then I walked out. And it was actually quite emotional because the 2 weeks before that, we were battling every single new regulation, right? Like, for example, it was not even the 1 meter, right? We just feeling like, okay, we just need to build in the sanitizer, the temperature check, how to check in bags, how to clean things, and then we own self go and expand 本来是20个人一个房间，30个人房间，我们 own self 自己减然后 change the route, right? 然后呢，我们又1 meter separation came in, right? So suddenly 1 meter 就这样，我们就一直在量，我们有一个1 meter task force to solve the problem. So for the whole 3 weeks, we were battling to stay alive, to stay legal, right? Then 最后这个 news 下来说 OK 你们关了 then the idea is just let's just hold this together, but we can't hold it any further. So you finally have to say, okay, this one, I lost this battle, but we go out, gloriously. We need the kind of emotional thing to tell us. And then for the next few weeks, it was very lost. We held our sets up front. Because we thought maybe they will shut down for a month. Maybe we'll come back, we're all still free now, like we can run the show again, right? Remember we said we're holding pattern, right? We're supposed to run a month anyway, so we just hold it, right? And then I think like a week later, we were having our leads meeting. And then they said, oh, the Prime Minister going to talk today. And I remember it was a Friday. I think it was a Friday. Then he took out his magic cup, right? And he told us that we're going to go into circuit breaker. And then the next thing we did was Cecilia, our producer, called up the tentage company and says, we tear down tomorrow. So tomorrow we had to, because if we don't tear it down, it's going to be 6 weeks before we get to tear it down, right? Like nobody. So it turns out that it took longer than that, because even in the beginning of phase 2, you still couldn't take it down, because that's when the migrant workers dormitory thing exploded.
Yeah.
This feels like ancient history,
Yeah, it does.
It really feels like ancient history. And then we were very lost. We were all very lost. All the live performance people were all very lost. So hold it together. The idea of hold it together. We're supposed to have a festival in August. And we thought about maybe we might be able to open the theater. Maybe not. We don't know. We're supposed to have an international exchange. Right? What do we do? And then we decided that, okay, one option is you just have to wait and you're passive. One option is you say, okay, I'm just going to go full digital and then totally in control. Even if the theater opens, I'm still going to go full digital. Then we came out with an idea of how do we communicate. We wanted to see, how do we communicate to our audience? They're used to coming to the theater to see the show. What does this festival mean? So we discovered one thing is we call it live. But it's live, like it has always been live. Even if I'm live streaming, it's live. And then we went one step further and somebody came out with an idea. Collectively, we came out with this idea. And there was a slogan that has been following us, which is in Chinese, right? 剧场不死，戏戏不断. Right? Because it's 戏戏节嘛, right? Christ, I don't even remember what the English.
Say it again, I can translate.
No, we actually have it proper, right?
So
what's the title? Theater is not
dead. Play is
forever.
It's like theater is not dead. Play
is
like
forever.
All right, I love it.
Yeah.
Play never die.
Like play is forever. Yeah. So theater is not dead. Play is forever. So when we came out with that title, then we're like, okay, I think we can live with this, And so that has kind of been the spirit since pre-lockdown. That as a kampong here. Right? And the immediate people that were working on the show with us at that point, and the people who were working in the August festival, that's the immediate group. So we just went. I mean, I'm going the long path here, right? Because if I don't want to play cheat, I have to last until 10 o'clock, right?
Play cheat. No, we can really talk about a whole bunch of different things, because I think this whole journey of listening, I mean, when you started talking about Four Horse Road, like it was a very specific memory, because I remember coming to that last show, and because I was in the show 2 years ago, I was just like, it was such a, I just remember it being such a monumental event, because I just thought like all these people, I could not imagine if I was in the show that your first few shows would be your last show after having put all that effort into it, right?
Yeah.
So I think hearing that story is so important for all of us, because it does feel like so long ago that happened. It was only March. I mean, we're in November. It felt like so much has happened in that time. And it's as if for me, it feels almost like do we know how to go back into the theater to do this? It's like everybody has been trying. I mean, and I've been in partaking in so many sort of fundraisers for the community of all the different theater companies in Singapore and around the world, just trying to figure out how to do this, right? And And really, I believe that we're still in the thick of it. You know, I don't think we're out of the woods yet. So that's the thing, right?
Yeah, we really don't know. We really don't. And so during that period of time, we decided that we needed some structure within the company, right? Because there's almost 20 of us. We needed some structure. So we decided, okay, what are the days? You know, who's going to go get a Zoom account? Do we really need it? Try a few things. That's like, yeah, I think we have to pay for it because the other one too cool. Yeah, cannot use that. So then we decided that, okay, we have to set up this work from home situation. And then the thing that touched us was along the way, we were getting phone calls and messages from people. And it was simple. It was simple messages like, how are you? You know, or 你们还好吗？我们经过你们的大门，看到窗口关上，门关上。Of course，窗口关上，门关上啦。想到你们就传一个短信，看看你们还好吗？Oh, so is that very simple that you feel like, you know, somebody is thinking of you, right? And then within the company, we started sending care packages to each other, right? Some of my colleagues are here because they cannot go home to Malaysia, right? You remember the one day scramble to come from, you know, for the lockdown. They still haven't gone back, right? Some are involved in long distance relationship that is very, very challenging. We all are adapting to it, but the fact that we keep asking each other, 你们还好吗？你还好吗？ How are you? Became a, you know, sort of a life force. 它推着我们向前走。So we started thinking about, okay, so if this is the case, right, we don't know when we're going to go back. You cannot assume, right? So if we are going to go digital, what does it mean? Okay, wait. Why do we have to do anything at all?
Yeah.
Right? Like is there a hurry to just do something? Why do we have to do anything at all? So then we started talking, right? What is the point? Why do we do what we do? What is important, right? So we started talking about what does it mean when we talk about we got to look after the kampong, we got to look after the community. Who are they, right? And what is it about theater when it's not live anymore in the space? Then what are we trying to preserve, right? What is the essence? Is it communication? Is it building bridges? Is it dialoguing? How do we do that? So if I jump forward, right? I jump forward to doing this. It's supposed to be a tea party.
It's supposed to be a what?
Tea
a
party.
Tea party.
来，我们来下午茶，喝下午茶。
I heard 七八 boom.
No, it's actually even worse than that. It wasn't even supposed to be a tea party that we cater. It was supposed to be a potluck that everybody will bring something.
Yes, in usual TTP style, right? Very kampong.
Yeah. We thought like since we're kampong, right? So it's supposed to be called practice kampong reunion, right? Like an alumni reunion, right? Then we decided, okay, let's just do a potluck because it's kind of fun. Because every time we do something, people bring food. Like these few days, we got so much food out front, right? And people bring food to show care, right? Yeah. So I said, let me do potluck. Like, well, even more irresponsible because people bring the food. You just give them the space and the tea, you know. And even tea is sponsored by Bai Xing Chun. That's very, you know. So 我们的算盘打得很响，我们就做 tea party 55周年，不要太累啦。That was back then. Then. Right, Sugi, you're supposed to do 我要上天的那一晚, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
And that came and went, no?
So how did it morph from like, we're going to do a tea party to like, let's do a full-on 55-hour broadcast? Like that seems to be a huge leap. We're
sitting here for 45 more minutes, right? And then my colleagues go like, how can we just wrap up? No, they don't. They know in principle we're going to last. Because it's almost like our challenge for ourselves, we have to last 55 hours. Why 55? I don't know. I was sitting outside a cafe. Then we were having a meeting. And then I saw two vehicles went by me. One vehicle, the address is 55, Serangoon, whatever. The other vehicle has a license plate that's 55. They all moved in front of me at the same time. While we were talking about it, I said, guys, you're not going to believe it. I saw these two cars, 55 and 55. I don't know, 55 years must be it. Hey, what if we do 55-hour live stream?
At that point, did everybody look at you and go, no?
No, we were all online. We were all online. I couldn't see them.
And they just said no, and then moved on. No. Imagine if somebody said that. But okay, knowing you probably said like, let's just keep going. But look at this. I mean, I think what's wonderful is that sort of, hey, what have we got to lose? Let's float this idea. Let's see what, like, it's like you're throwing the ball, right? And you're seeing who catches. And I think you can look back upon this and say, those two trucks. Those two trucks.
I love hearing all these things, like, the why, how does this all come about? And, it's sort of, I don't know, I feel like it's really being blown out of proportion. I mean, like, you look around, I mean, 我们在旁边就看到很多在做剧场的人，还是大家都可能演员也好，或者是后台的人，有些就是说 guys, see you guys later, it's my time, I'm gonna get out of the stage right this moment, and I'll be back when things are, so 很多人就是回去卖保险的卖保险，回去
卖豆花的卖豆花的，
卖豆花的，
回去读书的读书。I mean, like, it's really a time where and then you see these 55 hours, and I'm here looking at it, at like how the setup to be, and I, it's really, 我就觉得它好震撼。然后我觉得 I think something to be really very proud of, but 在后面就有一种，那么就是来你到了这个节骨眼，你3月的时候那个东西发生的时候，四马路的时候，你就觉得我也不懂，哎呀 CB 可能过一下没有，那不是 CB 啊 COVID 可能很快就没有，
这是感冒而已吗？
可能 flu， 哎呦 by year end can or by March May
哇 coming to stay everybody online 买 camera 买灯，你看这里有80多个灯，那个圆圆的灯，忽然间 sales 很好。然后很多人 like I mean 有些生意变好了，有些生意反而更好，有些就是很像剧场，你就在想死了，好像刚刚讲的，剧场就是一个 space， 你没有这个 space， it start from here from a space， 一个人跟一个观众，要是没有这个 space， 真的去 online， it all shrink down to what？ And I was thinking about it, and of course， 生活还是要过，不过做剧场的人还是在做剧场。那我觉得 it says something, this 55 hours. It says something. Yes.
Yeah, I think, there will be the people who will say, it's like the whole, like, okay, video killed the radio star. And then, like, this is just a whole new, like, medium, blah, 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 right? And yes, some things have gone, right? Like film. That one has just decidedly died, right? But I think theater is always going to be one of those spaces where it may not look like what we're familiar with. I mean, in going into the future, right? Yeah. Like, maybe we knew it as this sort of thing where we're all sharing a physical space. But I think it also has brought with it just forcing us to really think through what it is that we're doing, right? Like you were saying, like what is the reason for being? Why are we coming together as a community? And I think the very fact that people still want to call and say, how are you? I think it makes you a lot more acute of the people that matter to you and the communities that you really want to build, and how then you can do that. Because I think just going through the motions of, right, every year we have to plan the season, we've got to fill every year with 3 shows, and then we're filling the theaters, bum. That in itself, just the running of that machine sometimes doesn't allow us to really sit back, and maybe this existential crisis had to happen for a reason, for all of us to kind of go, hey, am I essential or not? That kind of thing. 我是谁? That kind of idea. Right? And I feel like it's really forced us to really think about what is it that we want to say? How are we going to say it? And how are we going to use this new medium? Because it's true that, at first when I remember after my first semester, when we're towards the tail end going, all right, okay, I can just cancel all my classes. We can all do them online. I assess everybody online. that's doable. But then immediately you feel all this discomfort coming out of you, like, how do I assess dance, or how do I even do a play online and all that sort of thing. And then what do you know? We figured it out.
I mean, not that it's good to watch, you know.
Let's just be real honest here.
Yeah, not that everything is good to watch, but you know what's interesting is, like, for example, right now, right, we are really doing the traditional art making that we do. Like this thing, 早早就被 cut 掉了了。It's like, cut, guys, you're just going on and but interestingly, when you're on Zoom, I mean, frankly, in the last 55 hours when we're doing these programs, right, then some people say, hey, 这个东西, you know, I feel tense, I don't know whether I'm prepared. I said, you know what, actually, frankly, I'm glad if there's some people watching right now. But actually, if nobody's watching, I'm still recording and archiving and notating something at this point in history and 55 years before us, right? So it is slightly different, where I think before we think about how do we do a show for somebody, it needs to go back inside. Right? And we need to be comfortable with ourselves first, right? Yeah. Like, can I now be comfortable to, you know, I mean, it's so precious that we can sit here and share, and then we're just talking, even though I'm actually like, you know, 20 meters away from you guys, right? Let's talk about serious social distancing. So, but the main thing is that we are taking the time and we are not rushing for what is the assumed, you know, mode of output. What are the assumptions that we had before? What are the assumptions of why we do show, who we do it for, how much we have to sell it, how many we have to do a year, how good is good, what is good, you know? There are a lot of assumptions in the past, the models that we are using. I mean,
that's right.
So I think that the fact that we can all come together, and there were some really honest conversations and very personal things that I was very surprised, but deeply, you know, moved that people share in the last 55 hours. And it's on air. This is as, you know, accessible as it's available, but it doesn't mean that somebody is going to access it, right? So when we do something and it comes from a place, we often worry about how many people is watching it. So when we decided to do this 55 hours, nobody's going to watch 55 hours. Who's going to watch? I didn't even watch 55 hours. I have to go back and scroll back and look at some of the recording because I wouldn't be coherent. Well, I'm not that coherent, but I wouldn't be like standing if I really watch all 55 hours, and I'll be totally useless. So what does it mean then? So when I invited our guests, I said it is the 55 hours on one hand to mark 55 years. Yeah. On the other hand, it's also for us to have conversations.
Yeah.
Right.
But really, I mean, thank you for providing that space, because I think to initially think about it as 55, like 2.5-3 days, right, of programming, that sounds really, really daunting. But I think just the fact that you provided that space forces us to really, you know, sit down and think about what it is that it all means, right? And I think that your ability to gather the number of people and this entire kampong, this village that, you know, this company has stood for and has built over the years is testament to the fact that there actually is a lot more space and room that we can continue to build for the existing, past, future, you know, theater makers. I've just, for one, been really enjoying all the archival, you know, like all the, just watching trailers even of like, of
I enjoy
all
watching myself.
Yeah, okay, all right.
很多我的 picture 跟 video 在里面。
No, but it's just like even like past stuff, like stuff that we, you know, the younger generation wouldn't know, the stories of old, like seeing the older teachers come back and sharing the stories. I think that is really precious. And the fact that we documented it, and even now, look, like if nobody listens to this conversation, 50 years from now, somebody's going to watch this recording.
Oh man. Is my hair messy?
And then we will be old, and then we'll be invited back and go, Suki, remember that time in 2020?
No,
Suki's gonna look at you and say, who are you?
我们昨天做那个老酒的 meet up， 你知道吗？昨天老酒 meet up 就是来一个，就是很从95年嘛，90年嘛，就是95年的时候呀，那一版到现在这一版。跨了大概30年，
yeah, it's incredible that growth, right? Like that one show has developed and morphed so many times, and I think it's become a quintessential Singapore story.
Yeah,
that I
it's
think,
very surreal. 我就看到， 以前他们也是这样，也是有姐夫，也是 although 他们可能比较不一样一点点，因为我们的他们还有因为是 play 的嘛 ，play 的剧本跟 music 不一样所以我坐在那边就觉得哇，这是以前那一代嘞，然后这是我们这一代嘞，就是然后以前那一代他们开始的时候，就一些别的 practitioner 出来，然后就做老师的做老师，开剧场的开剧场，干嘛的就是干嘛了，然后我们这一代。It's very you if you don't see it and if you're not in there and experience it, sitting there together with them, it's quite surreal when you see the Zoom window and then you have like 20 or 40 over.
It's 2 pages.
20
pages. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing how you and
so
I think half came, right? I mean
I'm not sure it's how I actually
less,
think that
definitely less than that.
Probably less than that, but so going back to it, but I think there were many touching moments in the last 55 hours, right? I think my favorite for me personally, on a personal level, is to watch my mom teach the class to the ballerinas, and she's still more precise and more flexible and more energetic than them, her center, her strength, and she's 81 years old, right? But it's not so much just as her daughter watching this, but it's also to watch a dedication of a lifetime to nurturing and to making and to education and advocacy, and that it's so much in her blood and just her second nature. To see that, to be able to come out around the people who, have always loved her, that was really meaningful to me. I was quite touched by it, right? Because they were here in the physical space and they were here on the Zoom. But at the same time, I think maybe enough of the looking back. Enough because yesterday when I have my conversation, 跟荣老师谈的时候，他就会谈说，不要这样 nostalgic， 不要只是看向后，不要 sentimental. Well, actually, it's very difficult for me not to be, but at the same time, 我完全知道他在说什么，因为你只是往后看，然后你就那种温暖的感觉 ，and then what, right? I mean, if this has been a tsunami that is, hasn't finished coming tsunamiing, then what do we do? I mean, the past was beautiful. I love you guys. And then what? Right? So, 我想可能这个是最难的部分哦。所以为什么我们就要谈到底说 OK, so 我们 go back to the basic law. 为什么我们要做这件事情？不是55个小时，而是为什么我们要继续做我们的工作？Right? I mean, it's not just about creating work. It's also about advocating. But advocating what? Advocating for who? You know? I mean, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. But I do know that, well, you see, there's a LinkedIn of like no subtlety here.
They are
slowly. Then 这个 flag 会不见。
Yeah,
it's like the vacuum cleaner is gonna come out soon.
Yeah, exactly. But it's okay. I mean, like we're having this process, like sunrise, sunset.
Yeah, you don't even know what time of day it is outside, right?
Yeah. What sun? So I think that what I can share is that recently we had our internal retreat. We have company retreat every year, and so this year we ask ourselves a very a question. It's a bit of a soul searching, right? Because 55 years you evolved, and practice has gone through a number of evolution, right? So now looking forward, the question we ask ourselves is, how do we continue to be useful to our community, right? I mean, this whole non-essential thing, I actually think that the answer is yeah. I mean, you look at the Maslow, is that the right word? Pyramid.
Hierarchies.
Yeah. So what we do is not at the bottom, right? That bottom pyramid is the essential, right? So in that sense, yes. I mean, it is a bit insensitive lah. how it was done. But having said that, we do need to ask ourselves, you know, is it also an assumption that our existence is important?
How do you, I mean, I know you don't have answers and you said that just now, but I mean, at this point, having gone through the 55 years and, you know, standing at the cusp now, right? Looking forward, how do you feel you can make the people that you have stewardship over, right? How can we use the collective energies and talents and make that useful?
What do you mean by a stewardship over?
Meaning that you're sort of sitting on this cusp, right? Of because, you know, for me, listening to all the stories and being where I mean, I don't know the full story, but just from where I stand, it feels like it has constantly been evolving. It's not like, you know, theater practice is only known for one thing and it has just done this one thing over the years. I think the one thing is very clear what it is. It's the telling of the stories, it's the training, it's that nurturing of young talent. But I think over the years, how it's done that has constantly evolved given the long history. So it's not surprising to me that at this point, we are still doing the soul searching and wanting to make that thing. So thinking about the community that you have now, how do you think you can make use of all our talents and energies to be useful? Like, what would you want to do?
I think that if anything has been clear to us in the last few months is that, you know, what we right now need to first think about what is important to why do I keep going on, right? I mean, I think that what we do or how we live life should be a deeply personal thing, right? 但是它的这个自我不是一个自私 it's not selfish, but it has to be deeply personal because you are your own engine.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes you do things for other people and other reasons, but eventually to sustain it and come back to you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that what is it about me? Why do I keep on going? I mean, for me, myself, you know, there are some things that's very important. Like when I have a big curiosity about humans, about human beings. I'm always curious about why people do what they do, understanding why they take that action or not take that action. I think I love to tell stories, you know, stories of humans. But this is me as an artist, right? But us as an kampong, actually, I can tell you, I don't know. And I also can tell you that it's not just up to me. I think that it is about the undertaking and the commitment that people around me choose to do or not.
Yeah.
Right. Like there are so many times, any moment, you know, like we talk about practice being an organization that actually is defined by a certain spirit. You know, I mean, dance, theater, whatever you call it, drama, music, musical, design, you know, digital theater. They are just forms. Forms come, forms go. But what is behind it is the sense of mission, right? Like we want to nurture, we want to empower, right? And we want to, you know, create work that reflects life. I mean, these are all things that's ethos driven. But the problem with ethos is, you know, once you take that away, there's nothing left. So it's extremely fragile and yet extremely tough. It's you know, 就是好像讲说人家打功夫啊，最利的东西，它也是最软的东西，对吧？最造诣最高的东西，它也是最有。It's fragile, but yet it's powerful. So I don't know. We may not get to 60. If people around me decide this is it, guys, done. But we may get to, you know, a lot more.
我觉得听到现在，然后 之前我刚来到实践者，刚差不多4点多5点的时候，我进来的时候，美兰老师他就拿了一盒蛋挞给我，然后他拿一个蛋挞给那叫我吃，然后就最近有饭吃吗？
没有就给你蛋挞吃。
So sweet. 我差点哭出来，我的眼泪直接爆，然后没有哭出来，我就哇！
你说什么？你刚才说答案是什么？
啊，有蛋，然后 Rick 就走过来啊，至少这里有蛋挞吃。No, I mean， 因为听到这些，然后听到你说的，然后你又说你不知道，然后作为可能舞台就是剧场的一份子，I mean 这几个月过来就会想说，哎呀，死了，真的是不是没有了，然后所以然后又听到这个是以后嘛，那现在可能然后又反想回来，就说那实践 OK 吗？我有那个问题，就是实践 OK 吗？然后可能你这边可以 share 一下，就是因为作为我们只演员嘛，因为我们又不是theater company or production house or you know I mean what we do we work on our craft, we you know we're very used to coming to a place to learn, to experience, to communicate, to share, to do everything, but then 这个 space 现在似乎大家都不见了嘛，然后我们要去哪里，然后就上网啊什么的。那the question is， 实践 OK 吗？现在，然后那实践要跟其他的演员也好，然后观众也好，要说什么？有什么要说的吗？
你懂我们这一群人之中，有3个人是在KPK 去世过后，我们就在了。OK， 一个是我，一个是美兰，另外一个是树琼。树琼 and I started the streaming at hour 00。然后当这个东西 hit 的时候，我就跟树琼讲，我说，其实我们更苦的时候都已经经历过了。所以不是说不苦，只是说还有更苦的，还有人比我们更苦。所以如果你看过去几个月我们在做一些 streaming 或者是我们在做一些呼吁的时候，我们都不说请你捐款给实践剧场，其实这种话我其实是很说不出口的一个人。 OK， 但是我们都会说，
我帮你说，请大家捐
不是给你 Q OK， 不是给你 Q 对啊，我说因为我觉得我知道还有人比我们更需要，我知道有人比我们更需要，所以我们就说重点就是，如果你想要支持文化艺术，如果你想要你有资源想分享的话，希望你会考虑文化艺术是一个你可以去支持的一个方向。然后你要捐给我们，你不要捐给我们，就是这样哦，对吗？因为我觉得的确是那个，好像那天我跟我妈谈，她说你可以化整为零啊。Next thing you can just say, OK, we've done our job, shut it down, right？ 但是化整为零有原因，不继续走下去也有原因。但是走下去不走下去都是人，都回到人。所以我们周围今天我跟你说，我们想的这个梦就是妙想天开，我们做55个小时，我们请这些人，我跟你讲哦，我们请的每一个人都到，基本上我们邀请的每一个人都到了，来主持的，来表演的，来帮忙做后台的，来画画的。那么这个东西是让我很感动，而且给你一个很大的力量再继续走下去，对吗？因为 that means there's something that you're doing that 人家看到它的价值，但是重点不是到现在为止，重点是 OK 我们看到了过后，然后我们继续能不能再听到你们的声音，能不能再知道你们对我们的鞭策和对我们的关爱是平衡的。 It's not just love us, care about us, but also be critical and be demanding and kick our butts, right？ 那么这样我们才会知道到底这个东西走下去是大家的嘛，对吧？它就是一个大家的东西，不是我的东西。而且还有一个东西就是说， in this 55 hours, I try very hard to 你看到吗？这边之中没有一个标题是讲郭宝坤或者吴丽娟，出了2个，一个是吴老师上课，另外一个是后郭宝坤时代。所以其实我也很有意识，作为他们的孩子，要把我自己跟他们从这个组织拉得比较远一点。它不是一个家族生意。Right? Like I said to the 那些60、70年代的叔叔阿姨、哥哥姐姐们，我说很多时候人家都讲郭宝坤吴丽娟，但是当然他们的功劳很大，他们的坚持执着很多，但是这么多人走过这个门槛，大家知道吗？还有很多很多人，成千上万，他们每一个买一张票来看我们的戏的人，走到门口去喝一杯我们的茶的人，对吗？送个孩子来上过课的家长，帮忙接送孩子的阿嬷，然后太多了。苏根，你知道每次来 Katrina， 每次我们做一个演出 ，and then we come out to the front and we meet these people. The challenge now is hard to meet them lah. Like we just see them, you know. Gosh, there's still 46 people watching, right? And
you know, yeah, I really gosh, I remember, is it 2012 when Victoria was doing the first Laochio with you? And I think as I was being exactly as you say, the parent driving the child back and forth from show to show, I remember sitting in one of the dressing rooms and talking to you about this. And I don't know if you remember this conversation, but I remember that because it was very similar to this, where you said, I think you were expressing a sense of sort of tiredness, or, I'm not going to do this. Maybe, next year, maybe we'll shut this all down, right? And for me at the time, I was like, no way. What do you mean? There's no such thing. Like, you must carry on, sort of thing, right? And I
how
think,
dare you?
Yeah, how dare you? How very dare you? But I totally feel you now, and understand the burden that must feel. Yet I also have always very admired, I think, your sort of ability to sort of carve that sort of, role and character for yourself that is very much, I think, in that this is what I want to do, that and I think part of the beauty of that has been your generosity in building this village, in enabling other people to come forward, right? And it just struck me just now as you were talking that yes, it is tiring, because I think sometimes when you're at the helm all the time, it's hard to sort of put it down, right? And sort of say, I need to go and take a 5-month break and see y'all, bye, and then come back and hope that all of that is still here, right? I don't know, but I feel like, because I mean, I think about it as a parent too, and then both you and I have had long conversations about being parents. And many days, I mean, recently in this year, I've wanted to literally run away. I wanted to give up. I'm going to go, bye, family. I'm leaving. Y'all fend for yourselves. See you later, right? I've wanted to check out many times, but obviously you come back to it, right? But I think that the ability to acknowledge that and maybe take a breather, allow the other family members to come forward and take the reins once in a while, is a good thing, is time maybe. I mean, it's not about when, but it's just sort of saying that it is a huge burden. And yeah.
No, actually, I mean, 就澄清2件事情啊。第一件事情 actually, it is not a burden, because none of us is locked down here, and I'm not here for the legacy of, my predecessors, and certainly not here for the legacy of myself. So I can walk away anytime. So that burden is much less than some people may think. But that doesn't mean that I'm not committed.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean that I'm like 有的人讲说哇，我们这么自信，然后你说你拍拍屁股就走啊，不是这样的意思，right？ 不是这样的意思。I mean, like I was laughing last night when I was talking to my sister on the other session of post KPK. Then 我们就笑说，哎，我们这边4个人哈，其实我是来帮的，结果你们3个人都走了，剩下我一个人在这边，对不对？呀，但是不是因为我不承担，而也不是因为我不负责任，也不是因为我很wishy-washy，不是。其实 ，what am I committing to？Right？ Am I committing to, like for example， 我每天做戏的话，我们 commit 就时间到戏一定要出，这个是一个 commitment。但是我的 commitment 不是说戏烂我也一定要出 ，there's still a bottom line, right?
Yeah.
So there must be certain conditions and certain ingredients to do what you need to do. So in terms of feeling tired, actually I'm okay. I mean 55 hours, yes, of course everybody's tired. There's more people who just like want to lie down on the floor right now, right? But the truth is the team that I'm working with right now is very strong and very committed and very bad in enabling me to do crazy things, right? And because I was talking to one of my colleagues that day, I said when I said 55 hours, right? You all thought, whoa, cool. And then like a day later, you go like, oh, hell, right? I said, it's like that. I said, because I felt like that. I said, great. Then I think half a day later, I go like, 笑了, right? But my colleague said to me, Xiaomi, Michelle said to me, she said, no, I didn't even go. Yeah, I just go, oh. She went step 2. Then she went step 3, which is, 但是是应该要做的. Then I say, you even rip yourself of that pleasure I had that first moment. You know? You didn't even get to enjoy that first moment, right? But you know, these colleagues, these especially young colleagues, somehow, you know, if you have enough people around who still want to build this, I can walk away anytime. They'll figure it out. Not that I would, like, abandon, you know, the kampong. But it's not about whether I walk away. It's about whether somebody wants to hold it up.
Yeah.
You see? If it's just about me, well, it's so simple already. Right?
Yeah.
And it's not even about us here, the 20 people here. It's actually about the kampong that you saw in the last 55 hours. And it's not about them even. It's the one, the invisible, and the circle, and the circle, and the circle outside. And if one day those circles don't exist anymore, then 化整为零哦. It's time, right?
But it's like with those chicken and egg things, right? Like, how do you know there is an audience if you don't put a show out, right? So it's like you've got to keep finding your audience, you know, and I mean, it's not as if we don't have an audience right now. I think it's sort of thinking about how do we engage in this new way? And so now we're familiar with this new format of, like, you know, everybody logging on to Zoom and watching a show, and is this all theater can be, right? For now, until we can all gather again. And what if we can never gather again?
Yeah.
So he's like, Kendonia. I mean, yeah, but what will that look like, and what would that feel like, and is it I mean, this too shall pass, right? I don't know. I feel like I'm in you know, we're talking ourselves into a hole, but I do feel like
I don't think the definition of theater is, I think the definition of theater is broader. You know, I think meeting up is broader. I think community is broader. I think life is broader. I think they're more challenging, but anytime you go into a new territory, it's challenging. But in a sense, this situation is kind of like, you know, it democratized a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's there. It's like, I use the analogy, it's like the Wild West, right? The land is there. Can you go and harness and plant and grow?
Yep.
If you do, you know, it's last lifetime kampong, you grow the durian tree, right? Then that's your land.
Yeah. Right?
So what are you going to grow? Do you want to grow? Who's going to grow it? You know, why do you grow? So I think to me, it's a lot of that thing, right? So I think it goes back to maybe a few simple words, like in our own, you know, vision statement, 2 words that we always use is nurture and empower, 培养和授权。我刚才在看 empower 怎么翻译啊？他说授权，我要说给力啦。
给力
Yeah,
give
I think,
power.
Yeah, 给力 to me is a good word. I mean, like in the official statement, it's very difficult to say 给力, right? Right, but to nurture and to empower, right? But the other day I was in a conference and somebody said two things that I thought, these are great words. There's an Australian museum director, and he said, because Australia has gone through a lot this year with the wildfire and then with COVID and then the, open and close and open and close, right? So he said that, that he feels that at difficult time, what the arts do is that the artists should think about they're important, that the people needs to be nourished. So he used the word nourish, 就是滋养啊，不是培养，是滋养。You need, it's like, I mean, nourish is a good way of saying it. I say moisturize, but nourish is nourish is a good word. But then the other idea he brought up is, he said, with simple integrity. And so there you have things that are very ethos driven, but then at the same time, it's also about innovation, right? Or creativity. I mean, at the end of the day, isn't that what we have been doing all the time?
Yeah.
Right? 我们怎么样去培养，我们怎么样得给力，我们怎么样去滋养，然后我们怎么样去创新。
创意 yeah.
创新创意。
Well, I like that. I like them all. I love the idea of nourishment and empowerment. And I think thinking about that moving forward, the arts has always been something that has given us a reason for being and something to aspire to, ways of thinking about ourselves and the community. And whether we realize it or not, I think without it, we would still survive. We will not be very nourished.
We would, yeah.
we
malnutrition will happen.
Yes. We will not be fattened by ideas and joy.
Into something.
Yeah. So so we all choose a different way of living, isn't it?
Yeah. I think, in the broadest sense, obviously, it's easy for us to say, let's think about the people who are really, really suffering. Yes, I think everybody suffers in various different ways, but I think this is not a competition about who's suffering more, right? It's about how can we then come together as a humanity and uplift each other and hold each other and say, we'll get through this, right? We'll come out the other side and we'll figure this out. So I think, if anything, for me, I felt like this whole year and being involved in the various communities that I have, it has been nourishing in that everyone is trying their darndest in whatever capacity they have to really look out and look after each other. So in many ways, I've seen the very best of people actually in this time, because they have come out of their comfort zones. They've done things they never thought they would do, right? They have stopped doing the things that they have always known how to do. It's just been really a
大洗牌啊。
对。Yeah, it's a rearrangement.
Big shuffling, yeah.
Big complete. Shuffling. Like we're gonna build towers differently now. We're gonna pong and see in different ways. Suddenly got mahjong analogy come out.
And 花上 who knows? 还没有达到北风，我们还不知道 ，OK？
只要不要炸糊就好啊，不要炸糊啊。I mean, I suppose we go back to the what's on the wall, right? And this time when we thought about the wall, I mean, so if you imagine, I think from the conception of this idea to us actually starting it was about 2.5 months. It's crazy. It's craziness. But then we say, so 2.5 months from zero to this, and one of the biggest challenge was, this 55 hours, it comes and goes, but the wall stays for a few years. Whatever we paint, every day we come to work, we walk in, we see, alamak, wrong decision, we've got to live with it for a few more years, right? So this time, we were looking for quotes, okay? So we went back to what had been guiding us. And it was something that my dad wrote in 2000, 2000, 2001, I think around that. I'm very bad at dates. But it's something that he wrote before he passed away, obviously. But it's still been guiding us. And I want to share it here because when you were looking at it just now on the wall, you may not be able to see very clearly, right? So I'll do the English first, then I'll do the Chinese, right? He said, our theater should aspire to objectively critique life, respectfully entertain audiences, and forever explore new uncharted territories. We shall debate among ourselves vigorously as we support each other loyally. So 在中文它的文字是这样子的，我们的剧场要客观的批判生活，尊重的娱乐民众，无休止的寻求创新。在这个大同之下，我们包容小异，在辩论中的张力中互助前进。So I think when I joined TTP practice in 2002, we looked at a compass. This was a compass that we took. And 18 years later, it is still a compass that's very relevant, And then, of course, then we look at Goh Lei Kwan, who has a person of few words. And she said, I'm not afraid of failure. I'm only afraid that we are not trying hard enough. Right? So 中文是我不怕失败，我是怕我们不够努力。So apparently yesterday she was stomping around and she added a sentence, 还有脸皮要够厚。Right? We're not trying hard enough and our skin has to be thicker. Right? A woman of few words, but
great spirit.
Yeah.
Undeniable strength and grace. I love that. And I think it's really in that beautiful moment that we've come almost to the end of our epic 55-hour broadcast. And it is in that spirit that I hope that at any point that if you've joined us in this entire journey, that you've taken away something that has given you encouragement, given you nourishment, and that in that spirit that you'll continue to 脸皮厚厚, go forth and do whatever it is that you need to do.
互相给力, right?
Yeah.
给力.
常常抱抱. Cannot 抱抱, no.
People already 抱 already 老. so nobody, I didn't say that. But yes, I think one of the things that I have missed is just the connecting of the human touch, right? And the being in shared spaces, something that we just so easily took for granted. And it is happening and it will happen. So in our own, groups of 5 and in spaces that we can accommodate, let us continue to uplift and love each other and, come together, observe random vehicles go by, see a number, right? And breathe
Luckily
that
it's 55, not 550.
And breathe that into existence. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And so nice to be reunited with my love here. And to see everybody in the team working so hard and putting together this amazing epic show.
It's just amazing. Yeah. When you come in and you see everybody is still doing it despite whatever that is happening right now, out there, 外面风大雨大，大家还关在 TTP 里面，还在战斗。
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still a lot of fight in us, and we're still doing it. Although it might look very dull in front, we don't know, but change is always the constant. And
哇 Suki
要跟你们在这边 gap 住，我要讲一些有一点 nutritious 的东西吗？但是我们是 nutritious 的 ，yes。
讲到好像很好吃哈。
Yes。
不只是好吃，也是对我们身体好，这样子。
对，是很有滋养，身体有了滋养，还有更多力气唱。
Indeed. Thank you for that. Well, Are we gonna wait till seriously?
Are we gonna count down? I think there's a call for countdown. Like seriously.
Why don't you just sing your favorite? Like Cecilia wants to tear her hair out already. She's
okay?
Like, I'm wanting to finish this.
So come. There's a person next to me, Jasmine, who is getting ready to have a camera and walk us through. And we have been in this space. This is the lights and the air conditioning hasn't been turned off.
度转吗？那个？
我当然可以啦，但是他才转，他才转哦。
OK，
对。
然后呢，我叫 Jasmine 过来这边，因为我觉得我们看一下整个空间，我们在这边那种没日没夜的啊，就是这个空间的冷气啊，已经开了很多个小时了。这边的灯已经很多天没有关了。Okay, so 我就想叫 Jasmine, instead of going from outside, we start from inside. So we start from where the broadcast began.
But for those who are going to see, actually, there's a lot of light and setup being taken away and put together and taken away already, right?
Yeah. So it's a very empty space right now. So I think we're going to finish at 10 o'clock, and I just want to thank everybody, whether you were able to show your face, show your voice, or help in any big or small ways, or were able to participate in any way, or just been thinking about us, right? I think this has been a very unusual birthday party, right? How to throw a party? Don't sleep. This has been a
55-hour marathon.
Yeah. 所以要谢谢所有的朋友们，谢谢所有支持我们的，想念我们的，关心我们的，指责我们的，鞭策我们的，批评我们的朋友们，希望我们继续能够走下去，好吗 ？Jasmine, you ready? Okay, she's gonna go for it.
Okay, here we go.
10点了。
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
That's the DJ cause that's us. Woo-hoo!
See you at the after party. 有没有
after party?